Hi everyone, my name's Heather and I go to Michigan State University. I'm taking a children's literature course which discusses controversial issues in children's literature, banned books, kind of what should we place in children's hands. And so this week we read a book about Muslim punk culture, and one of the articles that we were also assigned to read, which I will be kind of referring to throughout this discussion, is titled Muslim in Children's Books, and the author, who is Rukhsana Khan, opens the article with her first experience she can remember, where she saw a young Muslim woman like herself being reflected in true form. The girl was drawn wearing the traditional women's clothing that they've been wearing for 1400 years and was not portrayed as being violent, anti-American, or dangerous. Rather, she was just a young, pretty woman standing in a cafeteria line off in the background. So she wasn't even in the foreground of the comic strip, which is where she found this image. It was her first experience where she felt like, oh, I'm being represented authentically. Um, so this kind of makes me question how many other people who identify with specific race, religion, or cultures have never seen themselves portrayed in an accurate or authentic manner in literature, whether it be in children's picture books, critical fiction novels, or even a cartoon strip. So this was startling for me to think and to try to put myself in someone's place and in someone's own experience who have dealt with not only being portrayed negatively continuously. And I honestly don't think I will ever understand or comprehend the emotion that the individuals have experienced or continue to have experienced. Just because that's, I've always, being a young white female, I feel as if I've been fortunate enough to be portrayed in a positive manner and pretty authentic in most aspects in the media. So I never thought of the underrepresented groups of people because I only noticed myself being represented most of the time, and I must have assumed in my own ignorance as a child and as a young adult, and now kind of an adult, gaining knowledge. But in my own ignorance, I must have assumed that other groups were being represented at the same level as a white female was, but they're not, and they're not at staggering levels. And it wasn't before I started taking many of my college courses with children's literature did I begin to realize how underrepresented these other cultures, races, and religions were. Um, from those that I don't identify with, they are scarcely represented. If you're driving down the highway and you see billboards, most of them are going to be white, male or females. Children's books, most of them are white children and their friends. They may have, like, we always like joke about like the stereotypical like black or like Asian or like Muslim or Hispanic or something kind of like friends in the background, but rarely are they like in the foreground. Um, and like I was saying before, it was easy for me to pick up a book and see myself in the images and be able to relate to the text because a great deal of the children's literature do focus on white children, their family, and their friends. Um, and as I said before, like being a white woman, I've been portrayed positively for the most part and authentically. So the question I raise now is how does underrepresentation of specific minority groups such as like groups of culture, race, and religion affect the individuals who identify with them? How are the children in our society when we ask them, to read a book and, really identify with it and break it apart, and how does it make you feel if they can't see an image of themselves in that picture book? Can they really relate to it? Like they can relate to it on the basic levels of like this girl's a friend and I have friends. But would it be more powerful if they saw someone who looked like them, like a mirror image of them in it? And would they be more apt to pick up those books and read those books? So just a bunch of questions. What is our society by not producing literature that, or not producing as much or as equally producing literature of the underrepresented minorities? Like, what is that doing to our society? Is it continuing to create that barrier between, the minority and the majority? If we were to produce more literature or make more literature accessible to minority like races, cultures, and religions, how would that impact our classrooms, and how would that help students? And the author of the article, she writes, the desire to fit in is the intense longing to be a part of the community. It's hardwired into our psyches. Like, we are emotional creatures. We want to communicate. We want to get to know people. We want to interact with other people. So it draws into a big question: when children aren't seeing themselves being represented in books, do they begin to question their religion? Do they begin to question their culture, their heritage, their lifestyle they have at home? Do they begin, what is the outcome of having underrepresentation of, specifically in this article, Muslim, doing to our American society? So it's a question I'll leave you guys with.